Oh, hurrah. All right, so now we're going to tell the world that we're streaming. Meow, 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 meow. Streaming, game dev, or indie dev. Today it's going to be indie dev. Indie dev doing 3D faces, paste, and burping straight into the mic, which is everybody's favorite sound. It's like ASMR if you like being disgusted. All right, so today we're going to work on faces like this guy here, this person here. It's actually our unigender face model, imported straight from MakeHuman. The problem is that we're going to need some shape keys for this face. We're going to need like roughly 100, and that's not exaggerating. I'm debating as to whether it's more like 150. We need shape keys for all of the major facial features, all of the things like blinking, and all of the major facial expressions. And most of those are going to be split up into subgroups and also split up into mirrored variants for left face and right face. That's a lot of shape keys. As you can see, Blender just has this giant list of shape keys, and it's really quite obnoxious to move them around and do stuff with them. So what we're going to try to do is figure out a way to create descendant meshes that can be baked back up with their shape keys. And I've never done this before, and I can't find any tutorials on it. So who knows whether or not it's going to work out. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to want to create 3 different heads, maybe 4, each of which is going to have their own shape key type. And then we'll be able to bake those shape keys back onto the main mesh because it's the same verts. There's no difference in the actual mesh. And what I'm thinking is that I can hit this transfer shape key, copy another selected object's active shape key to this one by applying the relative offsets. But what I want is a transfer shape key that allows for all the shape keys to be transferred. Let me just take a look and see whether there's already something like that. Blender transfer shape key batch. You could link object data, which includes shape keys from one to another, but that would limit it to only one source. According to these guys, there's no way to do it. I know there's a way to do it. You can just script it. It's trivial if you know how to script Blender. But guess what I don't know how to do? That would be scripting Blender. This person recommends the Lichtwerk Mesh Transfer plugin. And it's not more than a year old, so maybe that's something I'll just quickly cut and paste in, because I know that everybody wants me to do all this stuff on screen, right? Well, I just got my internet connection back. I haven't had enough time to do anything. So, here we are. Lichtwerk Mesh Transfer. Let's take a look. Oh, I don't know if this is quite what I want. This looks like it might be a cage-based system. I'll look into that later. Even if I do have to do it one by one, it'd still be better to have it set up. Yeah, it is a arbitrary topology thing. It's not just an easy mesh transfer. How annoying. Okay, so it doesn't look like that's something that can be done by... No one's apparently ever wanted to do this before, which is bizarre, because I know that people use hundreds of shape keys. I've watched them use hundreds of shape keys. So presumably, they just use hundreds of shape keys and painstakingly click between them over and over and over. That seems like a really rough way to do stuff. Another way I could do this is I could transfer them in Unity, because I can build shape keys. Let's just investigate that before I go any further and see whether or not it would be easy or hard, just for the sake of trying it out. So for that, we're going to go ahead and rename this to snose test case, and we're going to hit save. Call this head extra key. Save that. Go back over here into Unity, and let's bake up our shape key system. It's not that big a file. Stop barfing. Thank you. So we're just going to create crew 3D. Hello? Shape key compiler. The Roland says, hello, am I late to the party? No, you are in fact early to the party. I just started only a couple seconds ago. That said, my computer is not behaving terribly well, and I'm getting concerned that it might be about to barf. I'm going to go ahead and close down this TTRPG I was working on, because maybe that's causing it to barf, but whatever. So what we're going to do right now is we're trying to take 2 or more meshes and create a new set of shape keys. So public skinned mesh run, or public mesh. No, I'm trying to think about the best way to do this. I guess for now we're just going to go ahead and public void compile. We're going to need to have a mesh basis. So public, is it a skinned mesh? No, it's just a mesh. Public mesh array bases. And down here in compile, we're going to grab for each mesh m in bases. We're going to just take a quick little look and see how easy it is to actually find all of the shape keys, the blend shapes as they're called in Unity, and rebake them. So here you see I can get blend shape frame vertices, blend shape index, blend shape name, bone weights, colors. The question is, can I actually get the blend shapes? There's a blend shape count. I don't see. I can add a blend shape frame, but I don't actually know what that means. And I can combine meshes, but that I believe combines like the mesh and the mesh, not the metadata of the meshes. Is it a bind pose? No, I don't think so. Well, maybe I should Google this. It's clear that there's not a simple formula for it. Unity mesh transfer blend keys. Blend keys, was it? Blend shapes? I can never remember what Unity calls them. Blend shapes. You can transfer shape keys from one model to the other. No, that's in Blender. People are talking about how blend shapes are slow. That's true, but you can bake them. So I can actually bake these and make it so that they don't take any time. But I don't need to, because we are turning the meshes off. Animation blend shapes. I'm not... Boy, Google is not being very helpful today. It used to be something where I'd search for it and it would just instantly pop up with the right answer. But in the past year, Google's turned to total shit. And this one is exactly what I want. It was asked back in 2016, and it has 0 replies. Okay, so it looks like there's no... there's an asset store plugin that might do it, but there's no easy way to do it. Great. So In other words, this is a giant waste of time. Aren't you glad you stopped in today? All right, so we're not going to do that. There's no reason to try and compile them, since apparently we can't access them. That seems strange. Like, there must be something I'm overlooking, but I'll just do it in Blender here and close this random box that I don't need open. So it's possible for me to create a, I believe it's Python is what they use for scripting. But the problem is that I actually don't know how to do it, and I'm certainly not going to do it on camera. So the question is, do I want to create 100 different blend shapes on one mesh, or do I want to split them up into submeshes just so that I can handle the chaos? And I think I'm going to go ahead and do it on submeshes because at the very least, doing it on submeshes, I can combine them and then have that combination be whatever I'm using. If they're all in one, it's much harder to decombine them, if you see what I mean. So for that, what we're going to want to do is create some heads for descendant objects. And that means we're going to delete this guy because I deleted all the shape keys that were on him. But right now, all we've got are shape keys. So these are the shape keys I want on my first head. This S space means shape. And then we'll have an E space for emotion and stuff like that. But for now, this should be pretty good. We can get some shape keys out of it. Things that will change the way your nose looks or the way your ears look or whatever, right? So the face has bone rigging to change the way that the shape of the fundamental facial structure. And the bone rigging can do things like shift the eyes around and do all sorts of stuff. But what the shape keys need to do is create a really nice set of modifications that give us a good result. And I'm looking at this, and it actually seems pretty solid. Trying to think of what we might be missing. Why? Let's take a look at how these shapes look in play. Alfiera says, glad to know I'm not alone with the whole 2-year-old forum post exactly what my problem is with no replies issue. Unity is not the most well-documented product, but it is basically the most well-documented game engine, which is more of a damning evidence on the part of game engines than any sort of sterling thing from Unity. Anyway, we can go ahead and hit randomize here. And what we've got is a facial shape that's not too bad, but it's also not terribly distinct. I'm trying to think about the things that make faces distinct, and a lot of them are the distance between various face parts. So I'm just sort of getting a feel for if I'm missing shape keys, what are they? And the problem is I'm not sure that I'm missing shape keys. It might just be that they're not being applied. See, here we've got 2 shape keys applied at 50 and a shape key applied at 66. But we don't have any fundamental, like, super shape keys. So if this is down at 0, you can see that this actually narrows the mouth. But it's a subtle one. It's not one of the ones where we would have, like, a lot of difference between being at 0 and being at 30. It's one of those ones where it might make more sense if the shape keys were never at numbers like 30 and they were only ever at numbers like 50 to 100. Let's go ahead and try that on for size, see whether or not that makes it feel better. The actual shape key editor is Face Wrangler. Where'd it go? Well, that was not the right thing. Let's try that again. Face Wrangler. I must have clicked down on the button below. That's fine. So here what we've got is find core shapes, where it searches for anything with the letter S in it. And those are the core shape morphs. It doesn't do it every single time. It just does it when it initializes. And it actually does that before we even save it, so it should never be a thing. Here is where it happens, though. When we're moving between the range we're looking for, we randomize which shape key we're getting between 0 and the maximum number of shape keys. And then we send over a center line, which is a times a, which is a range between 0.1 and 1. The center line gets a number added to it, and then we add in this. I don't think that's really what we want. Let's go ahead and make that a lerp. So we'll just go ahead and say mathf.lerp between 0.5 f and 1 and a. There we are. And then what we'll do is that will stay the same. In fact, we won't even bother with this. There's no way anybody would ever notice. So that should allow us to get a much more aggressive set of shape keys. Just let it recompile here. There we are. I wish there was a way to make it change colors or something while it was recompiling. Okay, well, let's just do the shape keys bit. Trigger it on its own. Boom. So you can see that that's definitely a lot more noticeable than what we were doing before. So to be honest, I'm not sure that we're adding in enough shape keys because the faces look better when I add in twice as many. I could make that just a number that we can customize, so maybe that's what I'll do. But first, let's see how it combines with randomized values. So here you can see a face that has a spot on it due to bad shading. Oh man, Unity's shadows are going to haunt me until the day I die. They're so awful. Then we've got some Yoda-like character. There we got some people with severe nose modeling. So we're getting some fairly cartoonish characters, but the thing is that it's not the shape keys that are making them cartoonish. It's the bone structure. The shape keys are not too bad. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Now that I've amped up the shape keys, the faces feel a lot more distinct. They're very cartoonish, but I'm not against that because they're not going to be at the scale you're seeing them here. They're actually quite small. If we go ahead and pop on over into the, let's just go back over into our scenes mission and then hit play. We can see the sizes that we're actually looking at here. These are the kinds of sizes that we're actually thinking of when we think about faces. So you can see why it's important that they feel distinct. Now the other piece of this puzzle is that they don't have emotions. So now the only thing left for us to do is to add those in, which is not going to be too challenging, but we do have to sculpt them. So if this is going to be our shape, we'll call it head shapes S, and then we're going to want to create a duplicate that's going to be head shapes E. And that's going to be for our emotions specifically. And then we can go over here into here and just delete all of this crap because these are all the wrong shapes. No, don't delete the basis. There we are. And now if we take a look, we didn't delete them from the others. We only deleted them from the one that we're talking about here. So let's begin to create some shape keys for emotions. That, I think, is going to call for an art tool. Let's go ahead and move stuff around, get ourselves set up for art. Hurrah! So, best thing we can do is go into sculpt mode and start to sculpt. I think what we're going to do first is create an eye up, this sort of thing. But we have to be very careful because we don't want to accidentally cause the lids to fall through the eye. Because that's something that will happen pretty easily if we just kind of push it without thinking too hard. The focus here is not on the actual eyelid. It's on the flesh beneath the eyelid like this. Just a touch of eyelid is fine. And you might think that that's super subtle, but it won't be as subtle as you think. Not that particular one. That particular one is rife with unsubtlety. Once you actually see it, see? So we're going to call that E eyes happy. It's actually technically E eyes stressed. We're not going to worry about that though. Now let's go ahead and create ourselves some E nose crinkle. Everybody knows it's time to crinkle. Oh, I don't have this tablet set up quite right for Blender anymore. I've used too many other programs. That's fine, though. So we could do this with left, right separately. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to call this eCrinkle. And what we'll do is we will turn off that x-axis mirror. No, that's not right. I didn't want to apply an x-axis mirror. Oh gosh darn it. Well, that barfed. I'm not sure why that barfed, but we'll start over. Hooray. Let's go ahead and delete that one in case there's something wrong with it and try it again. Eyes happy. And that X mirror is not, in fact, the X mirror I was thinking of. I was thinking of the one that was somewhere else. That one. The other X mirror. So we could make the eyes happy also be X mirrored, but that, or not X mirrored, but that would cause some problems with what happened? Why isn't this? Oh, that's right. That would cause some problems with how the face would look. It would get kind of cockeyed. Why are you not even the right brush anymore? How did this screw everything up? I just pressed Control Z and everything completely barfed. That's fine. All right, good enough. And then we're going to go ahead and add in E nose crinkle L. And this nose crinkle L needs to have this mirror turned off. And it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to raise up the nostril, but we have to be careful not to do any damage to the right side of the face. This is all left side only stuff. We're also going to switch to a, oh, there is no, we'll switch to a pinch. That's the closest we've got. And we're going to just apply a little bit of a pinch there. There's some problems with that, but it's not too bad. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, we need more pinch. So let's go ahead and I don't know if pinch is actually going to be good enough. It doesn't seem like it actually does very much. Maybe crease is better. Yeah, crease. Crease! Not that bad, just a little bit. There we are. Wow, that barfed. Let's try it again. E nose wrinkle crinkle L. All right, one more time. Wait. Why is the nose damaged now? That doesn't look symmetrical anymore. What? Let's take a look. Is that actually symmetrical? I don't think it is. No, it's definitely not. Did this face get... Did I adjust the... I bet I adjusted the basis rather than... Okay, so Control Z is not working. Blender, you're an ass. All right, well, that's fine. We'll start over. This is one of the many reasons that it's best to do these on separate meshes. Let's start with the nose crinkle. All right, one more time. Hopefully. So we'll just go ahead and use grab and pull the nostril up a little bit. There we are. And then we'll use crease and just put in a little bit of a crease. There we are. That might be a little too much crease. That's probably better. All right. That's good. So now what we can do is just duplicate this. New shape key from... I can't believe there's still no copy shape key. Blender is really very silly, but this is going to be E nose crinkle right, and we'll just mirror it. Two failed. Presumably those are two in the middle. That seems crinkly. Not the best crinkle I've ever made, but whatever. So now I'll just do E eyes happy. Turn that X mirror back on. Can we shrink some of this stuff? Yeah. The Relin says check the other two noses. So it might just be that the shadows are a little bit different than I expect. If we take a look at the actual topology, I don't see any signs that it doesn't mirror properly. I could add in a mirror operator and see whether there's any overlap. So if we put in an X mirror, if there was any overlap, we would see some part of this poking out with the mirrored flesh, and that's not happening. For example, if we actually did have a problem. No, apparently not. Normally speaking, when you... Oh, because I've got it set to mirrored. Very funny. Well, I don't think we've got any problem because I can't see any flesh popping out. It might have been that we didn't have any problem before either, and I was just being overly suspicious, but it sure felt like there was nose damage. All right, that should be fine. And now we're going to go ahead and do E mouth smile. So there are several kinds of smiles, and we have to decide whether or not we're going to have different kinds of smiles or different kinds of sub-smile. The problem with having different kinds of sub-smile... Yeah, Mr. Supli, that's what I did. The different kinds of sub-smile are difficult because when they're recombined, they won't make sense. So I think what we're going to want is a couple different kinds of smile, and to say that, we're going to go ahead and say E-mouth smile. We need to have like descriptors of kinds of smiles. So we'll call it smile grin. We'll call it just grin. L. To be honest, we may not even need these top three. We'll find out. So basically, when we're doing smiling, we need to adjust the face to make it seem like it's correct. We can do that using grab, especially if we turn off the X mirror like we're supposed to. We can do that using grab, but you can see that there's a problem here. When it grabs, it doesn't actually make the mouth look like it's smiling. It looks like it's kind of like meh, meh. Let's go ahead and make a meh, because since we've got it set up to make meh, we might as well make a meh now. So for meh, we're just going to drag up like this. That's meh. The only question is whether or not meh is arranged correctly on the forward-back axis. And I think it's a little too far forward, so we're just going to go, there we are. And now if we look at it, it's meh. So if we do a meh and then a crinkle, you get kind of a disgusted sort of look. And that's the point. Yep. So what we're going to do is just create a duplicate shape key. Doop. And then turn this off. Name this E mouth meh R. And then mirror it. I guess we'll try mirroring topology this time. Wow, 244 failed. I presume those are the ones in the middle. Meh. So now we're going to try E mouth. Let's go ahead and try for a sly smile. So basically, there are a couple of ways to try and get this mouth to behave in a way that doesn't go meh. One of those ways is to change the curve from this to this. When we do that, we get a much tighter sort of look. It's not perfect, but it's substantially better. Another way is to use the twist, or rotate as it's called in Blender. And when you do this, you can sort of get it to move around whatever center point you'd like. But the problem is that it will rotate above and below. So we're getting like nose deformation. You can see that. And that's rarely what we actually want. So the last option, as far as I know, is to thumb it. And if you thumb it, you can sort of push it into position. This is exactly like grab in terms of the end result, but you can do it more incrementally. So, you know, we'll try with some thumb first and see whether or not that seems like a good slide. No, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the grab. So basically what I'm trying to do is grab that mouth, but you can see how it creates this really harsh cluster, mesh cluster. If we were to switch over into mesh view, which I think there is a way to do, is it Z? Z, there it is. You probably can't see very well given how this mesh is currently displaying not where I wanted it to. I'm not sure how to get it to just show the front, but you can see how at the edge there's a really tight set of creases here. This in particular is really distorted. That's what's giving us this strange chunk. So what we're going to do is if we do that, we have to relax the cheek afterwards. So another option is to continue doing the softened grab and then just use a smaller brush to adjust the edge of the mouth. That will keep the cheek intact, which is kind of important. So like that. Just bring this in. Now what we want to do is just bring the lips down a little bit because he's sly. Or they are sly. It's not necessarily a he. Problem is, I can't seem to get it to maintain its crease. Well, it's fine. Is that too deep? No, I don't think it's too bad. All right, so now we've got this sly smile, and we can just create a duplicate from topology, and then mirror it. Turn both of them up. And just take a look at the lips and make sure that the lips don't feel too stupid. In this case, they still feel a little stupid, so we're going to just adjust the lips a little bit before we actually do this. So we'll leave that one up for now and then just tighten up this lip a little bit. So the thing is, we actually only want to do half as much as we would like to see because this is a doubled shape key. Also, we want to crisp up the edges a little bit better, so we'll just use a pinch. Try and get these to crisp, just a touch. All right, so now, is that too crispy? It might be a little too crispy. Let's go ahead and just soften that up just a touch. Where's our soften brush? Is it just holding shift? I don't see a soften here. Smooth, there it is. So we're just gonna smooth that lip a touch. There, that'll be better. All right, so now we're gonna delete this other guy and then create new sheep from mix and then that was weird. So this is when it's doubled. Obviously that's a little too much, but we will have expressions that do push like that. It's just not what we're doing at the moment. What we're doing at the moment is to turn this guy off and then mirror. And then turn him back on. Yeah, so that's definitely sly. One of the things we didn't do is we didn't pull the lips back at all because I completely forgot about it. I guess we'll just do that real fast here. It's not that big a deal to do, so we should do it before I forget. So to do that, just get a fairly close to side view and then just touch these back here. And once again, delete, duplicate. Oh, is that off or on? Yeah, that's fine. I have a sneaking suspicion I screwed that up. No, that seems right. Okay, good. Create from mix. Now we're going to find out whether mirror actually does the whole thing or just the one that's... Okay, good. So it didn't affect this guy. There we are. Now that looks smug. So we'll call that E mouth sly R. And you can see that we can combine it with other things to give our character quite a grimace. And I bet you were thinking to yourself, are these really going to combine? They all look pretty gentle, pretty soft. But the point is that when you combine them, you can get something that feels very realistic and nuanced. So that's what I'm trying for here. I'm trying to get a bunch of relatively gentle expressions that combine into something aggressive. And that's what we're seeing here. So I hope you appreciate how it looks right now, because I'm trying to keep that as the way we're going to try for the whole thing. Boy, that guy looks disgusted. That's fine. Let's bring all this down. So we don't actually have an honest smile yet. There's some question as to what we want to name it. Let's go for the grin next. Grinnell. So the grin is going to be an open-mouthed smile. Oh man, this lighting is really... I guess it's just because I'm not used to it. I've been working in ZBrush rather than Blender, and it's not... It's a very different experience. So basically what we want to do is to have the grin involve raising the upper lip and lowering the lower lip. Not as much as you might think, because we're going to have a separate raise upper lip, lower lip. We'll do that one first. Let's do that one first. We'll call this grimace. And grimace is going to raise the upper lip and lower the lower lip. The problem with that is that it's actually quite challenging to raise the upper lip and lower the lower lip without using any kind of, what do you call them? Mask. And I don't remember how to build masks in Blender, but I do remember how to hide things by just hitting plus a whole bunch and then hitting H. So as you can see, that didn't hide anything because you can't be in solid mode. You have to be in texture mode? Texture mode. How ridiculous is this, right? So I can't see what's going on anymore, but there is an option that will let me see what I'm doing. So there's a way to get this to display the surface topology. I wish I could remember what it was. Or here's show and hide mask. Maybe we can get it to do it. Let's see if I can get this here. Lasso mask, box mask. Let's try a box mask. Wow, great. Perfect. So if we were to try and move it, you can see how the mask worked, but it's really obnoxious. So I think what we'll do is we'll go in here, we'll unhide everything. Nope, sorry, unhide it. I can't remember how to do this, and I can't see the fucking mask. What idiot thought of this approach? Guys, stop popping shit up at the bottom of my screen. I'm trying to do stuff. Yeah, I can't see the mask. There's a way to do it. I don't happen to know it. It's really obnoxious when something like Blender won't give you the easy way to do stuff. And as you can see, it's quite challenging to get these to move separately, which means that really my only option is to use this hide approach, which then involves going over into texture where I can't see anything for reasons unknown to me, and then trying to raise and lower the lips here in texture mode. So if we do this, we can pull them up and then switch back over to a mode where we can see shit. But you can see that we missed a texture point, one of these little pieces. That's not too bad because I can always just drag it up myself. I could also have moved the lip up in edit mode. I don't have to do it in sculpt mode. But it's so hard to do masks in Blender, and it's so easy to do masks in ZBrush. It's really impressive how bad the masking is here in Blender. We're gonna bring that back so it's no longer masked. You know what? We'll probably be better off doing this whole thing here. Yeah, we'll work with it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, what we're trying to do is to get this to be a grimace, which means pulling the lips back and up. We've gotten way off course. Are there teeth inside of this character? Yeah, so let's grab some of these teeth. Not very pretty teeth. They're kind of Sonic the Hedgehog teeth. That's okay, though. So let's see if we can shape these into some kind of result that feels a little bit more natural. I don't think any of this is ever going to feel too natural, unfortunately. It's just I can't get the mesh to be... God damn it! I can't get the mesh to be working very well. And it's really obnoxious to keep switching between the various editors I use, the various 3D mesh editors I use. And it's like, well, which one is it today? And why isn't this one vertex smoothing? Why is this like the one immortal vertex? What's up with you? Why are you so annoying? There. That is really fucking awful. Man, I don't think this is the right way to do it. I think there are other ways that aren't quite as shit. I'm going to go ahead and abandon that. That turned out to be totally trash. Aubrey says that he never uses Blender for sculpting. I normally don't, but I can't get the shape keys out of ZBrush. Or at least I've never figured out how. Maybe I can, and I just don't know how. Let's go ahead and try something small. We'll go ahead and E-mouth smirk. L. Aubrey says that he knows how. Okay, well, hold on then. I'm going to go ahead and hit reload on this dashboard because Twitch tells me I barfed, even though Aubrey being able to reply to me means I frickin' didn't. I'm going to turn you over into our buddy Phoenix Wright. Doop, doop, and open up some ZBrush. I turned you over to Phoenix Wright, and I was like, oh, good, now I'm on Phoenix Wright, so I can, make noise. Oh, the mic hasn't affected, you idiot. So it's going to take about 13 seconds to boot ZBrush, and then I've got to do a little bit of work tracking down the correct model. So the correct model should be over in the tool section. Oh, you know what? I bet I can access it from here. Show an Explorer. We do not have a ZBrush project in here. That's interesting. There is an obj file for ZBrush to use. I guess we'll go ahead and import from that. That's not ZBrush. That's ZBrush. So let's load our import or load. I think we'll import. Compound ships, material, skin, people, head for ZBrush. And there we are. Get rid of that. All right, I'm going to bring you back now, I think. Yeah, there we are. So I've got my head for ZBrush, and I'm going to stick it into the screen here. Well, now I've forgotten how to get it to lock. Oh, it just wasn't working for some reason. All right, so this is the head in ZBrush, and obviously what I'll do is add in a bunch of... Ooh, I forgot to hit edit. Try that again. What is it, Control N? Yeah. Edit. And obviously what I'll do is I will add in some subdivs. Now I'll go back over into the live element. Aubrey Beardsley says, when you export your model from ZBrush, keep vertex order. That's really important. When you export and import those blend shapes models in Blender, you have to check keep vertex order. So maybe the model is screwed already. So I might have missed a couple lines that you said, unfortunately, because Twitch made me reload the page and it doesn't keep chat for some reason. So I'm not sure if you mentioned how to create multiple variants on one mesh. Because if I have to export each one of the shapes as its own mesh, that's going to be a huge pain in the ass. Ari Beardsley says, re-export the model from Blender. This is literally the exact same model. I haven't changed the model in weeks, months, and it should work fine. Okay, so Aubrey says that you can do it. You have to export them one at a time. Yeah, I know how to remap meshes to a mesh with the same vertex order or even a different vertex order. But having to edit this and then export, and then edit this, and then export, and then edit this, and then export, the expressions will turn out good, but the workflow is really slow. So I might come back here for specifically like complex mouth shapes, I guess. I'm not too concerned. I will bring it back someday. I think I'm so much better in something that has actual sculpting rather than this shit. But it's something where the workflow is just too slow. Look at that. Once again, there is like a weird set of verts that just isn't being affected by anything that we're doing. Is there like an errant mask? It seems like they might have been masked. That's weird. Whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently pull out the smile into a genuine smile, which involves a lot more cheek motion than you might think. Unfortunately, I screwed up the cheek motion. Undo. There we are. That's better. And we'll pull down the lips a little bit. And then we'll shrink this. Bring this tip up not that much. That's like a Joker smile. And then we'll bring in some pinching and creasing here to try and get us to have the correct feel. What I'd like to do... Oh, it's inflating. That's what we need. So what we're going to do is just inflate right here to bring the lips together a little bit. And then we will do some pinching. Aubrey says that it's super fast after you've exported them. Yeah, I agree. I know that process. It's just that doing it here in Blender is something where it takes 2 or 3 minutes at tops per shape, and the result is something that stays in Blender and can be edited in Blender. But if I were to do it over in ZBrush, then what I would need to do is create a giant stack of export models, which would have to be re-exported from ZBrush anytime I wanted to change an expression, and re-imported into Blender and then rebaked on. The problem isn't that it's slow to do in ZBrush. The problem is that the process of importing and exporting models is fundamentally a huge issue in this sort of situation. For an indie dev, if you were like a real dev on a real team, you wouldn't have any problems with it. You'd have like a pipeline, but I don't. Beautiful, lovely. You can actually you can learn a lot about what you've done to your mesh by looking at the doubled shape key. We're not going to keep it doubled though. We're going to flip it. Okay, so here you can see we do have a little bit of damage where the lip was tightened up incorrectly in the middle there. So we're going to undamage that, which we're going to do in here. You can see that what we did is we left this piece really out of the mix. So we're just going to bring that into something a little bit more. And just like pull these down a touch. This can come down just a little bit. This can go up just a little bit. The lips are something where there's going to be a lot of deformations being applied. So it's good to try and keep them from screwing up. So you can see here we've got like a chook. That's not great. So we'll just use some loop slides to try and bring this under control. All right, there we are. Come back out, delete this guy, kaboom, duplicate this guy, flip him. There we are. And now we've got a nice little smile. It doesn't actually look symmetric, but I think that's the lighting rather than any problem with the shape key. Aubrey says, "You're a coder. Make a tool, you lazy bum." Yeah, that's true, but I could make a tool in Blender. So really the problem here is literally what he said. I'm a lazy bum. I only work on this project maybe 4 or 5 hours a week at most, and because of that, anything that could slow you down even by a little bit is dangerous, because it could cost you a month of development time. So that's why I'm willing to take worse quality in exchange for speed. So here's a smirk, and you can see that what we can do is we can get like these crooked smirks, but we can also add in additional shapes that aren't the same. And we can get ourselves a nice setup where it is a more complex expression than you might be expecting. That's the idea. So now we're going to go ahead and revisit our buddy, the lips. Mouth grimace. So I'm going to just go ahead and edit this guy here in edit mode. Put the art tools away. So are we still? Yeah, we're still mirrored. So what we're going to do is we are going to select the interior line of the mouth here, like so. Then we're going to go ahead and turn on connected proportional editing, and we're going to scale Z. And you can see that we've got some overlap where the top and the bottom don't mirror accordingly. So I guess we're going to have to do our initial raise and lower as their own separate piece. That's fine. There we go. So we also need to bring the lips back. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this whole set here. And we're going to scale Y negative like this. And then we're going to pull the whole thing in. And then what we're going to want to do is grab this lip edge. And we're going to want to run a crease on it. I don't know if there's any good way to do that in Blender. Aubrey says, please tell me a bit about this project. So I'm not sure what to tell you, because I'm not sure if you've been around. I've seen you a couple of times, but I don't know how much you know. It's this. So there's a spaceship, and you have crew aboard it, and we're generating hundreds of random crew members. So what we've got is a small indie game that needs... Aubrey says, oh my god, still that? Well, that's the thing. I'm only working on it a couple hours a week. But I did just... So depending on how long you've been out of the loop, there may have actually been a full project between when you left and when you came back, because I released the trash game, the space trash game. So I don't know how long you've been gone, but if you don't remember the space trash game, there's a good chance that I developed that while you were gone. So what I'd like to do is shrink towards every point here, but unfortunately, I'm not sure there's a way to do that in Blender. Because I don't want to shrink these. I want to shrink everything else. I wonder... There's no way to hide them and still shrink by them. But if I hide them, I can shrink by everything else. Okay, that's not going to work. I could loop slide. Yeah, so I could loop slide to bring the lips closer to this. We'll do that. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll just grab this and pull it back. Now we're going to go ahead and scale this up, just as we talked about before. Oh, that didn't work at all, because we are on the wrong thing. There we are. Let's bring this in here. I don't know how to get rid of this crease being such a crease. All right, so what we've done now is we've created some bared lips, as you can see. The only issue is that they don't integrate quite right with the cheeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to just have these cheeks get a little bit of motion. Got to turn them back on here. Yep. There we are. And I'm hoping that they're properly mirrored. I think they are, yeah. So that's just a basic grimace, and then you can also smirk. But you can see that what we've got is some folding. The reason for that is pretty simple. The grimace, I brought these in. Now that we've done what we wanted to do with them, we'll push them back out. The Relin says that it's now a horror game. So the thing about it is that if you can't make horror game expressions from your characters, then chances are your characters can't make enough expressions. Most of the time, something like a grimace will actually be around here, like half, and then you'll get like a sly on this side. Come on. And maybe a smirk on this side. Or no, that would be a weird one. Let's go make a sly there too. So it's not a tremendous issue. Now the teeth are a little bit of an issue just because the teeth are really weird looking. And I may have to address that at some point, but who cares? All right, so we've done a grimace, and now what we've got to do is do a grin. So as before, I think this is something that's better done not in sculpt mode, just due to the way that this inner lip, this inner area here, barfs whenever you sculpt it, especially if you're trying to separate the lips. So we're going to go ahead and do something like this. Yeah, that's about right. And then we can actually do a rotate to pull it into alignment here. like that. So that is a grin with no lip opening and with lips that don't properly compress. So to make this properly compress, what we're going to want to do is deselect some of this stuff here. Is that correct? Oh, I was trying to, unfortunately for me, minus actually ends up deselecting everything rather than just deselecting the one point off the edge. What a pain. You know what? I don't have to select both sides. I only need half of it. There we are. What I'm trying to do here is get a good lip compression out of this without causing too much damage to the edge of the mouth. That's more or less the right shape. We can beat it into shape by moving things. And what we're going to want to do now is just get this to be a little bit less devil. All right, so we're going to bring this lip area up a little bit. Because all we did was push it back. We didn't change the actual scale at all. Oh, this is only supposed to be the left half. Shit. Is there any way to kill off the left half of a sculpt? Oh, I don't think there is. Shit, we have to start over. Oh well, that's fine. Deleted. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to need to turn off the x-axis symmetry. And try again. Notice that I'm using the green arrow rather than screen space. That helps to make it so that I have less screen shear when I'm doing this stuff. And then we'll just try and bring this into position. Alright, so now let's punch this lip up a little bit. And pull this lip down a little bit. And maybe just touch this. It's not really a grin, though. It's more like another smirk. Let's see how it looks when it's duplicated. Oh, that's not the right button. This is the right button. Yoink. Boink. That's not a grin. That's a creepy one. All right, one more time. Aubrey wants to know my opinion on the Sonic movie trailer. So, I think it should be obvious. The question is whether it's going to be good trash or bad trash. I'm not really a fan of Sonic, so I couldn't say. If it was like a Phantasy Star movie trailer, I'd probably have a lot more opinions on it. All right, let's try and make this a little bit more grinny. I'm not offended by it because I don't really give a shit about corporate mascots. If it was, if I cared more, I'd probably be offended more. But Sonic's always just been a corporate mascot to me. So it's like I'm not going to get upset that 7-Up's Spot is getting a bad movie. The Rallin remembers 7-Up's Spot. It got a bad game. That was good enough, right? And did I pull those lips back? I think I did. Yeah, I definitely did. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit of verticality this time. Last time we left the lips pressed together and the result was quite creepy. So we're going to try to make it a little bit less creepy this time. We'll see. Aubrey Beersley says that some people do love Sonic. Yeah, I'm not going to judge you. I mean, corporate mascots are part of your youth. I just don't have any particular love of that one. Man, when there's just one of them, they really look really creepy. I might not be able to pull this off. We'll see. Yeah! Yeah. All right, so the lip needs a little bit more work. We're going to go ahead and just go ahead and do that right now. So right now it looks very false and forced, and the reason for that is because it doesn't have any of the elements that are supposed to back it up. But it still looks pretty bad, doesn't it? Trying to do these things without mirroring is really rough. So what about it makes it creepy? Maybe it's just the lighting. Oh, that's somehow even creepier. Okay, so it's not just the lighting. I should probably... I've been looking at it too long. Let's go ahead and pull up Grin. Not Grin Slash. That's not a website. There, Grin Images. All these people look creepy as fuck, too. But the difference is that their upper lip is raised considerably more. So we'll go ahead and try that out. And their lower lip is also not showing off their lower teeth as much. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and see whether that looks a little bit... It should still look super creepy. Because, you know, someone grinning full on is always going to look a little creepy. But the idea is that I should be able... Yeah, that's creepy as fuck. So the problem is that I accidentally integrated in these guys. One more time. There we are. Yeah, that looks more like Jack. And let's bring these smiles down a touch. Yeah, something like 0.5 is a little bit more human. That's not a K. That's supposed to be an L. Let's make some sad faces, and then we'll export it into Unity and see how it looks. Fresnel. Oh, I guess we have to do a few forehead things as well. People are talking about Sonichu stuff, which I don't really know anything about. And Aubrey says that he's working on characters for his own game, but it's a lewd game, so he's not going to post it in my chat, which is good. Don't post lewd stuff in my chat without... well, anyhow, don't post lewd stuff in my chat. I don't want to get in trouble with Twitch. They'll ban you for anything. All right. So now I think we can probably do a sculpt on the frown. So the frown is going to involve pulling in some lipping. And can we get a crease in? I think we can get a crease in. Yoink. Yeah, there we are. There we are. So that's a frowny sort of face. I'm not sure if that's going to work out with this middle area. We'll find out. Let's duplicate it. Yeah! And then flip it. That's actually not too bad. The top lip needs just a touch more work, and I knew it would. The bottom lip is a little bit projected. We're going to pull it back. So if we can do that, we'll just use the grab brush and bring this down. Nope. And bring this in. Take this out. Duplicate. Flip. Turn on. Oh, we screwed up the top lip. All right, one more time. What does it look like? That center point is too high. So we'll just... There we go. There's an unhappy sort of person. I think we can push it. Let's push it. That's more like it. Now there's an unhappy person. Mm, mm, I don't want to go to space. Space sucks. Aubrey asks if I've seen the latest Game of Thrones. I haven't seen any Game of Thrones. I haven't seen any TV shows, period. So, no. Aubrey says that he watched it, but he couldn't see it, which is a joke about the cinematography. I saw some people talking about that on Twitter, but I've never seen it. So, brow, up, right, or left? Left. Let's go ahead and get those brows arching. So the problem with the brows is that there is a lot of stuff that we don't want to move. So to make that happen, what we're going to do is we're going to just mask out a bunch of stuff so that we don't end up causing any problems for ourselves. There we are. You too. Don't distort the back of the eyeball. And now what happens is if we grab it and try and move it, nothing happens. We got some stuff on the back of the head instead. So with that in mind, we should be able to adjust the eyebrow without accidentally adjusting the eye, which is going to be perfect. I think we can go higher. Let's make it a little cartoony. There we are. Shoot. Perplexing. All right, so we're going to just create the other half of that. Whoa. So you say. All right, so that's going to be brow up R. Brow down L. That didn't work. What's going on here? Oh, I don't have any. There we are. Now we can't be too aggressive with the down brow because someone's eyes will be larger or smaller and it will end up making them look weird. So we'll just go in that. That's probably fine. New shape from mix, mirror shape key, turn it on, name it, combine it, yoink. And notice how that damages the socket a little bit, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about that right now. Brow in L. So when you're bringing the brow in, obviously it's important to make the brow definitely come in, but also we're going to want to add in some creasing here. Yeah, like that. That might be too much. Yeah, something like that. Let's see whether or not that's a little too extreme. We'll find out here. New from shape mix and duplicate. That definitely didn't work. You can see how it didn't mirror the eyebrow at all. So I think the problem there is that the topology is not taking into account attached submeshes. So we're going to go ahead and new shape from mix, mirror without the topology. There we are. That's better. Ooh. So we have to punch it forward a little bit. It's just not going to work out if it's actually making the face crumple. So we'll just do that. And I think we'll just tighten this up. Oh, I see the problem. We don't actually have the right verts for a crease there. It just doesn't exist. That's okay. We'll go ahead and fake it. Nope, that's not going to work. Okay, so so the eyebrow up is fine in terms of making a cartoon expression, but when you're glaring, the idea is that in cartoons, the way that works is that you have a rise in the outer edge of the eyebrow, even though that makes no sense. So brow glare L. Let's go ahead and make a glare. And we're also going to want to bunch up the underside of the eye a touch. Too much. Too much. There we are. All right, so duplicate that, mirror it, punch it in. Oh, look at that. It didn't work. So we got a problem where the mirroring didn't work out, even though I'm pretty sure that I gave it the correct command. Let's try that one more time. New shape key from mix. Turn this off for now. Yeah, look, there's something wrong with it. This isn't working at all. Okay, so not great. Apparently, there's something wrong with the eyebrows where they're not perfectly mirrored, which means I'll have to manually repair the duplicate. That's okay. We'll go ahead and just do that. So to manually repair the duplicate, we need to go over here and bring this back into line. Come over here and bring this up out of line. There we are. There we are. So now we've got glaring. And if we combine the glaring and the brow up, it works. It just doesn't make any sense. If we go the glaring and the brow down, we get a really grimacy glare. We combine the glare and the frown. So sad. All right, that's fine. So now what we could do is bring this into Unity, but you might remember that this is not, in fact, the head that we'll be using in Unity. This is a separate head. In order for us to bring it into Unity, we need to export all of these blend shapes, which won't even let us select multiple blend shapes. That's how obnoxious this is. We have to export all of these over into another mesh, and that means that each one of them is going to have this transfer shape key applied. And for us to do that, we have to go through them one by one to do it. If you know anything about Blender and how scripts work, this is something you could probably help me with. But it's not too terrible. We'll go ahead and say transfer shape key. Which one is going to get transferred here? Transfer shape key. There we are. Hold on. Why is it not working? Oh, it is. It's just there's something in the way. No, it's not working. What's going on here? What? What's going on here? Did I just damage the baseline of this mesh? What? Fuck. So what we're going to do is copy this guy. Copy. Close this without saving. Reopen it. FBX can contain blend shapes. Yes, that's true. But what FBX can't do is combine... Well, I mean, I might be able to write a script to combine them. So over here, what we've got is this setup that we just built and an undamaged central face. We're going to go ahead and duplicate the central face, move it over here, and practice our screw-ups. So this time, we're going to go ahead and not actually turn the nose crinkle on, because apparently it imported it as stuck on. So you can see that once again, it's stuck on. And it's not... So does the transferring not fucking work? So the transferring doesn't fucking work. Aubrey says, join as shapes. Let's try that. So let's take a look at this. Is... Oh, I just accidentally did the wrong thing. There we go. Let's delete this guy. Save this. Duplicate. Delete this guy. We'll use this guy. We'll use this guy as our test. Duplicate this guy, move him over here. We're going to need that later. This person and this person. Control J? No, that didn't work. Control P? No. Join as shapes. I don't remember how to do that. J. No? Alt J. Shift J. W J. Join. You used to the same menu you used to transfer shapes. Oh, join as shapes. Merge selected objects to shapes of active object. Let's try it. So, doop, and join as shapes. Head shapes E. Oh, wow, that's awful. So basically that means that I can do this. But if I do it, I have to rename everything. Really? That's definitely going to require code. I'm not going to be able to... I'm not going to be able to do that one by one. That would take literally the rest of the night. So, what I'll probably do is look up how to code scripts in Blender, because it should be pretty simple, right? You just go through the shape keys on one mesh, and you take the name, you set it to max, you go over to the other mesh, you join from shape, set that new shape key to the name of the other one, and repeat the process forever. Aubrey says, what's with the transferring? Doesn't work. So the problem with the transferring is that I have to turn the shape on, like this. And then when I go over here and transfer it as a shape, it comes in as that thing, but just with an arbitrary garbage name attached to it. Head shapes E. If I join it as a shape key, then it creates a new shape key on the head, but it permanently overwrites the base shape of the head. So if I were to do this with a mouth grin like so, and then go over here and then join as transfer shape key, this mouth grin doesn't actually do shit. The mouth grin is permanently imprinted. What? What's going on here? Okay, there's something strange going on. So maybe it does work and there's just a display glitch, because if I do this, it works. But this, 0 to 100, why isn't this going down? Aubrey says he thinks it does work. It does seem to work, but for some reason, I can't turn it up or down. All I can do is turn it on and off. Well, there's an easy way to check. We'll save this. Go back over into here. Let's go back into a scene that's not this one. Now that takes forever to load up these heads. There we are. Scenes. Faces. Meshes, people, head, donk, head. There we are. Pull this back so we can see it a little bit better. So here are the 4 heads from Blender. And you can see that this head here is actually displaying fine. It doesn't have the grimace. And if I turn the grimace on, it has the grimace. So that means that it does work fine. The problem is that here in Blender, there's something screwy about how this actually shows. It's not clearing the cache for some reason. If I were to close this down and reopen it, I wonder what would happen. It's still busted. That is super weird. Yeah, I can show transition in Unity. In fact, there it is. So right now I've damaged it due to the way I saved it last time, I think. That's interesting. So when I saved it, I ended up causing it damage because this shape saved. When I turn this off, it saves fine. But if I leave that shape on, then it will save with that shape on, even if it's set to 0%. What the fuck is this bug? This is amazing. So now that I've got it set up here, if you take a look at the corner of the mouth as I raise the percentage, you can see it works fine. But if I leave the shape on in Blender, this shape will bake into the base mesh. This doesn't matter, and it just doesn't work right. So that is really, really funny, but it's okay. What we'll do is we'll save a backup file. Head back 2. That'll take roughly 10 years to import. Now I'll go back over into the head, and we'll just copy this shit over like we're supposed to. The question is whether or not I can do it without having to turn them on at all. I think I can, so we'll just go click, click. Transfer shape key. Turn it off. Once again, this would be easier with a function. Turn it off. Turn it off. Oh, I forgot to move it down there. Exciting. This is the weirdest bug. There must be a better way to do this, but Blender doesn't make it easy to find out. Halfway. It's very peaceful. Wrong button. Fuck. Okay, good, that's fine. The Roland says it's very zen. I agree. I used to do data entry. I know what it's like. But I think that's all we need to put the E's into our shape keys. Otherwise, it'd just be shape kais, which is not really what we want. Or shap kais. The only question is whether I remembered to delete that first E mouth grin. If not, I'll have to go back and redo it. Oh. All right, so there is our head. If we take a look at the mesh inside the head's head, there's a whole bunch of E's. Look at all those E's. So what we're going to do is just make sure that these E's actually work, which we can do by smirking. Yeah. That's good. Thanks for that. And we're going to just update our face modifier, this guy, to do E's as well as S's. So here's our S's, and we're going to also do E's. So this is a list int core shapes. What we're going to do is copy and paste this entire set for emotional shapes. All right, so once we've tried to find emo shapes, we do the exact same thing, but for emos. And then when we go through, oh, this is actually just setting core shapes. We'll set the emo shapes separately here. Later on, we'll polish this so that it's not quite as awful, but for now it's fine. So what we've got here is max's int max core shapes.count. Gonna just copy this and paste it, and this is gonna be emo shapes.count. No emotions on face, and then we'll just do the exact same shit, but we're going to want to this randomized shape key. We're going to want to pass it. We do pass it an index. Wait. Randomized shape key, random range 0 to max, core shapes.count. This never would have worked. Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's the same deal. This one doesn't need to be nearly as expressive. We're just going to go ahead and lerp it from 0 to 1 instead of half to 1, because it would be a little bit aggressive otherwise. The only problem is that we're not currently doing any mirroring. We're not checking to see whether or not we want to do the right half of a left half shape. So we're going to get a very huge number of lopsided faces on this first go, but it should be okay. So we're going to save this and hop on over and try it out. Off-topic question, is there any way to get per-textual lighting out of the Unity standard shader, provided I know nothing about coding shaders? I think that really depends on which Unity standard shader you're going to be using, because there's 3 of them now. But I don't know enough about shaders to answer that question. Face Wrangler. In it. Good news, it works. So let's go ahead and set this up in play mode. And we'll just randomize. It definitely adds a little something. Oh, I didn't do a lip purse expression. Yeah. Yar. Too many of these people are getting the mouth open grimace. Oh, now there's a handsome lad. All right, so it needs tweaking, but as you can see, it works. Not so sure about this policy of using an incredibly bugged branch of Blender, but until 2.8 becomes a standard import for Unity, there's no reason for me to get it. So we're going to go ahead and keep doing this for now. The 2 problems I see, well, the one big problem I see for the expressions is that we're getting a lot of duplicate types of expressions. For example, mouth expressions and mouth expressions stacked on top of each other. If we were going to do it more gently, we would want to make sure that once we had mouth expressions, further mouth expressions were reduced so that we wouldn't get too much folding over. But another big problem we've got is that we are taking 10 or 9 expressions. We're going to only want to take about half that. Aubrey hates 2.8. So I have tried 2.8. I don't dislike it, but it's not immediately compatible with Unity, and it doesn't allow for the hair engine I'm using to work. So I'm kind of waiting for those things to pick up a little bit, and then I will enjoy it a lot more. Oh yeah, this is definitely producing much more realistic faces. That's definitely a bones issue. That's fine though. Let's go ahead and post some screenshots, and then we'll be done for the day. Hurrah, right? A little too generic. Try one more time. There we are. Oh, no, that's the same expression we had for the first person. Let's try one more time. Yeah, there we are. That's a brand new expression for a brand new face. And then we'll just pop on over into our mission system. All right, we got to turn off debug mode, hit apply. And we'll go over into screens, scenes, mission, save the changes. Hit play and get ourselves a screenshot of a whole crew stacked up. Lots of screwy faces here. That's fine. Exciting. All right, so just check up on chat. I don't think anybody said anything. Llewellyn says he likes it. It's much better than it was. There's a lot of work left to do to polish it. But I particularly like this guy here. I will see you folks on Saturday if you care to come back. If not, then maybe I'll see you the Wednesday after. Bye.